We are now semi-live in the Empowered Mom Studios, and today the topic is the art of waiting. So I've noticed something in life that, like, it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. It's in our nature and it is in birth. It is a metaphor for life. Truly, it is. Because I've noticed that there's a difference between allowing things to happen and pushing for things to happen and the experience of it. This ties again into my work that I do, which, as you know, I am a birth coach, but that's not just all of it. I help women who have had previously traumatic birth experiences to experience the joy and ecstasy of true natural birth and to tap back into their intuitive power. Because often what happened in that traumatic birth happened because they were pushing for birth to happen fast. They were pushing inductions, or they had a C-section that they didn't actually need, but had been tricked into by the medical system. That's a whole other story. And I've noticed that a lot of advice out there is, oh, you're at the end of your pregnancy. It's time to get things going. And I don't tell my clients it's time to get things going. At the end of their pregnancy, I tell them to rest. I know, right? Like, how are they going to avoid the induction if they're not doing all of the things? Well, that's the point. I hate induction. I think that is the absolute worst thing that the medical system has ever done, is invent timelines for birth and to force everybody into that textbook. But we do that with everything. If the business hasn't taken off by a certain number of years, it's never going to happen. If the relationship hasn't blossomed, it's never going to happen. If the child doesn't accomplish the milestone, it's never going to happen. But then when you keep going, and I believe this with all my heart, is that when something is truly meant for you, it doesn't matter how many obstacles are put in your path. Every single one of them is a test. Do you really want it? Do you really want it? Are you going to keep working for it? Are you really going to work for it? Because yes, this is a very valuable thing that you want. And yes, it is your dream. And at the same time, you're going to have to work at this every day. So if you're not ready to do that, well, then it's just going to be that unattainable goal until you actually get out of your own way and do it. And when you have that beautiful dream of an ecstatic home birth or an ecstatic empowered birth, there are going to be obstacles. There are going to be moments of doubt. There are going to be moments where you just want to take the easy way out and give up, but you don't. Because when you give up, you know that you're just going to be longing for that dream for the rest of your life. You're going to have those regrets. Same thing with the business. If you don't put your all into it, and if it's something that you truly believe in, that you know is going to change the world for the better, you don't just give up just because it's hard, just because you're not getting the results you want right away. I mean, if I had done that, if I had been like, you know what, I have to have all the results and I have to have them right away, I never would have gotten started at all. I never would have done anything. But I had the dream and I went for it. But I'm a Scorpio. Waiting is not something I enjoy. Waiting is the hardest part. Like that Tom Petty song. The waiting is the hardest part. Like, yeah, it is. I get it. If you've been at something for a really, really long time and it's not working, or if you are in the birth space and you have been waiting and waiting to hold your baby and you thought that you were going to have your baby in your arms before 40 weeks and nothing is happening, yeah, you're going to get frustrated. Here's the difference between never going to happen and inevitably going to happen, just not on your timeline. If you still have that dream and it is so deeply ingrained inside of you, and you are seeing the signs that it's like it's going to happen, or you already know it's going to happen because it's gestating, like literally, babies will be born. We don't need to force them out. They will come out. It is going to happen, but it's not necessarily going to happen at 40 weeks or 41 weeks or even 42 weeks. I've seen babies that come at like 44 weeks, no problems. But the thing is that this dream that you have, it can either happen in an organic way with maybe there's some setbacks. Maybe there's moments when it doesn't seem like anything's happening. You just get a tiny little hint. Maybe a little bud sprouts from the ground in terms of planting a seed. But you know it's going to come. You know it's going to happen. It's taking a little bit longer. So what do you do? Well, in order for me to really deal with this, I had to go through the experience of my daughter's birth, where I had signs of labor happening at 37 weeks, and she did not grace us with her presence until 40 weeks and almost 3 days. And I even had a false start the night before. And I thought, oh, this is it. And it was not. Because I was trying to force the outcome, and because my doula was trying to force the outcome, and the midwife was also on a timeline, labor just completely shut down. If I'd been in the hospital, that would have been a C-section, but it wasn't, because I recognized she's going to come out. As long as she's doing okay, I'm not going to do anything. So what I tell my clients, especially if they have had previous trauma in their births, which most of them have, actually like all of them, they come to me and they're like, I'm at the end of my pregnancy. I don't want another C-section. I don't want an induction. How do I get into labor? And I'm like, go to bed. I'm like, what? And it's like, don't do the spicy food. Only have sex if you want to have sex. And don't make it a chore. And make sure that you're just doing things that are taking your mind off labor. Don't even think about it. No, we're not going to look at labor signs. No, we're not even going to care when we get into labor if this is happening. Like, I would love it if you can distract yourself as long as possible until the point where you can't distract yourself anymore because you realize it is coming. Once that point happens, then you act. So part of my method is we create the plan. We have the backup plan. And it's really, really a solid, airtight backup plan that encompasses everything. And it's like, okay, you don't have to use this plan until this happens. And here are the signs to watch out for when this happens. It's the same thing in life, in my business. I'm looking for those signs, but I'm not fixated on them. I see them and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right track. All right, I'm going to go do something else now. I'm going to rest. So how do you deal with the waiting game? There's 3 things, 3 little tactics that I use in order to allow things to come to me, because I'm not pushing on the outside anymore. That exhausted me. That frustrated me. It got me to the point where I'm like, nothing is working and I'd fall apart. But I recognized that when I let go of the outcome, when I let go of the timeline, when I let go of the need to control it and just let it unfold as long as it needs to unfold, I get more. First of all, I get more than what I had originally asked for. And second, it's easy. It's effortless. And I'm ready to take it on. I'm not blocking myself by being like, oh, but I'm not ready for it. Now that I've pushed for it, now I'm not ready to deal with the actual outcome of it. No. So part of it is that if something's not coming right away, maybe there's a block. This is one of the things I even ask my clients, like, especially with trauma. If they're holding on to trauma and fear around their birth experience, that can actually stop labor from happening. Again, with the metaphors for life. If you are 1 foot on the gas pedal, 1 foot on the brake, as my friend Annie Lala says. What happens is that nothing moves. And maybe you move a little bit, but it's so painful to even take that step. So you've got to just basically take your foot off of the brake and off the gas pedal. Just sit with it. And not only that, but holding on to that dream still. We're not giving up the dream. We're not going to go and find something easier. No. When it's a dream that is like a burning passion for you, that's like, if this never comes to pass, it's really going to suck. And I'm going to allow it to happen because I know that it's inevitable. I just don't know when. Like, I know my book is going to fly off the shelves and it's going to be like, it's going to sell. I just don't know when. I don't know when it's coming, but I know it's coming. My YouTube channel will explode. I don't know when, but it will. And my courses will sell themselves. I don't know when, but I have the plan in place. If a whole bunch of people came to me today and said, I want to learn from you. I've got the book. I've got the courses. I've got the YouTube channel. It's built. It's set out. I did the little bit of work at the beginning to figure out, will this work? I saw the signs. I saw that people needed it. It's not a lot, but at the same time, it was enough of a confirmation to say, yes, you are on track. And with my personal life and with like birth as well, there's those little signs that tell you that you're on track. And I'm not talking about the physical signs that you have to look for. No, I'm talking about the fact that if you are pregnant and gestating a baby, you are going to birth. So if you are pregnant in your ability to create something and you are far enough along in it that it is gestating, things are happening, things are growing, but it's not ready to birth yet. See where I'm going with this? Eventually it's going to happen. Okay? It's going to happen. You're either going to have to like, something catastrophic would have to happen to like completely derail it. But as long as it's still gestating, as long as that dream is still alive, it is going to birth. It will happen. So I recognize this. Like I tell my clients, like, you're going to give birth. You're going to give birth no matter what. So if you're going to give birth no matter what, and the medical system is saying you're not allowed to do it unless it's on their timeline, the reality is that you're on your own timeline and you don't know what it is. Your baby knows, your body knows, but you don't know. And that's okay. It'll happen. Like, you are gestating this. Like, it's like I knew my book. It's like it was gestating. I had it. Like, I had that book. I had that course. I knew, like, it's going to happen. Just don't know when. Some things take longer to birth than others. Do you know that elephants actually take 2 years to gestate before they actually have their babies? Like, birth isn't just 9 months. Like, other mammals have different gestations. And same thing with flowers and plants. Different gestation periods. Different moments where they grow fast and moments where they are slow. If you look at a patch of grass outside right now, it's not really growing much, is it? But in the summertime, better believe people are going to have to mow their lawns. Are they going to have to do that in the winter? No, the grass is dead in the winter, but it always comes back. So recognize that life is seasons. Life is like it's a circle. And you're going to have moments where there's going to be lots of growth. You're going to have moments when there's just doesn't seem like anything's happening, like the first trimester or the start of spring. It's like nothing really seems to be happening, but under the surface it is. And then you go into summer and things are starting to happen. There's a lot. It's not ready to birth yet. It's not ready to harvest yet, but it's happening. You can see it. You can see the fruit starting to ripen on the trees. You can start to see the vegetables in the vegetable garden starting to get ready. And then in the fall, you harvest it, right? That's the birthing time. And then from there, you've got the winter. Well, winter is the time of rest. So with anything that you're trying to create, you need to recognize there's time for planting seeds. There is a time for like letting those seeds just start to water them, but you're not going to see much. And then you're going to start to see a little bit growing. And then there's going to be a lot more growing. And then by the end of it, you can harvest. But if you can't wait, here's what happens. In the context of birth again, if you can't wait, you're going to have birth trauma. You might end up getting the thing you want. You are going to not enjoy it. You are going to be tired. You are going to be stressed. You're going to be just like in pain. And if you also used faster methods that you weren't really prepared for, that aftermath can affect you even worse. Pitocin is the absolute worst. Induction is the absolute worst. Babies actually need time to gestate and to perfect their systems and to be able to breathe on the outside and to be able to have those reflexes. And now we've decided that birth has to happen on a certain timeline. And if it doesn't happen, then we have to speed it up. Well, it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with relationships. Oh, this relationship isn't working fast enough. Oh, this isn't happening fast enough. Okay, well, either we abandon it or we try to push it in the direction we want it to go, and we have a death grip on it. But maybe the other party isn't ready. It's like with your baby's not ready. So your business may not be ready for you to push and accelerate that, because it's going to cause trauma. Something else isn't ready. The universe won't give it to you. And you're pushing and pushing on the outside and you're exhausted and you're like, why isn't this working? This should work by now. I've been waiting and I've been waiting for this and it's not happening. Well, gotta let go. Gotta stop doing all the things. Gotta take that time. So how do you do that? How do you wait when it's something you want more than anything? You want to birth that, or you want to hold that in your, like, you want it. You want it. Well, here are some tactics that I use with my clients, and Jenny did this as well. Where, first of all, there's the creating that ultimate vision, that ultimate dream. Going and acting as if you already have the thing that you want most. In Jenny's case, she went and wrote out her birth story as if it had already happened. And she played that in her head. In my case, when something isn't getting where I want it right away, and I'm excited, and it's like, I can't wait for this thing. I want this thing. And I have that energy. It's like, I know it's going to happen. And I'm getting impatient. And I want it now. I go and write. I write out in the future a scenario where I already have what I want. And I'm moving towards something else that I want. And I write it out as an actual story where I am the main character. And it is it's like first person, present tense. And I write out that entire scenario. I do a lot of scripting. And what I found when I do that is that I can sometimes uncover hidden fears that might be getting in the way of me actually getting the thing I want. And then I can work through that through the story and release it. So that's step number one. You might have a block that's stopping you from getting it. It might be a fear that you haven't quite uncovered yet. But in the process of writing and journaling and actually living in that moment and in that space, you uncover it, you work through it, it's released, and then you can take an action that you were afraid to take before. And that gets you further. Or another one is maybe this is out of your control. Your baby or your business or whatever is an active participant here. Can't control them. They need to have their time. Or maybe it's a partnership or a friendship or a relationship, a romantic relationship, and the other person just isn't ready yet. They've got blocks that they need to work through. You've done your side and you're just waiting for them, but they're just not there yet. Now you could force them back into doing that with you and everything, and scare them, like how doctors scare people into pushing into an induction so that the baby is born on a certain timeline. You could do that. It's going to result in trauma. And if you really care about someone or you really care about your business, you don't want to put it through trauma. So instead of doing that, here's what you do instead. Go distract yourself. I tell my clients, what's some projects that you want to do before the baby gets here? And that if they interrupt them, it's not going to be a big deal, but it's going to be enough that you're so passionate about this project that you hope they don't show up until the end of it. And go do those things. In my case, my personal life, if things aren't working, I go and I work on my business. If my business isn't doing what I want it to do right away, if I'm not getting the results I want, or I haven't got that idea, like while I was writing Your Empowered Birth, I also would have moments where I'm like, I need to not think about my book right now. And I went and wrote fan fiction. So doing other creative things can get the juices flowing in a different direction. And then you're like, oh, okay, I can give this time. And then maybe it happens faster than you think. Maybe you suddenly get that burst of inspiration. Awesome, right? Last one, rest. When I finally decided Michaela's not coming, and I almost got tricked into having to transfer again. I almost got that trap laid for me because of the fact that it was stop and start labor, wasn't progressing, and in the hospital, that would have been a C-section. But I'm like, no, this isn't happening. We're not going to break my waters. We're not going to run Pitocin. We're not pushing me into the hospital. I'm not doing that. I'm not having birth trauma again. I'm getting my dream birth. So as far as I'm concerned, until I am actively pushing that baby out, it's not happening. Until I see tangible results of the thing I want, it's not happening. It's just curiosity. So how this works is I went to the beach. I went and did a creative project. I slept. When something's not working emotionally for me, I sleep. I take naps. I go and get my nails done, which I'm going to do on Friday. I'm going to take my daughter and we're going to go get our nails done and we're going to do a mani-pedi. It's part of her birthday present. Couldn't do it last week, even though I wanted to, because it was technically her birthday week. But this year, her birthday fell on Easter. Not exactly a good timing. So I said, okay, we'll pivot. That's the thing. If it's not the right timing, you can't control it. You can't change what's happening. In my case, with the lunar cycle and everything, or getting a cold, I can't change that. I work on something else, or I take a nap. And then usually it resolves itself. Or I just don't feel that intensity anymore. It's not like I have to have this thing now. I can release it. I can be like, okay, I got a little bit of the thing I wanted, and I'm good right now. I'm good. Sometimes you get it in your dreams. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I've got my confirmation. I'm good. I can wait. I can wait because I've got some more inspiration. I've got something else, or I've got that feeling that I was really looking for. And when you do this, when you let go of your attachment to the outcome happening right now, and you've let that go, it's just easier. It just feels so much better. You're not giving up on the dream. Just giving up on the timeline of it. Because the timeline constricts you. The timeline may not be what you actually need to gestate. The timeline may result in trauma because not everybody follows the same timeline. And not every flower in your bouquet or in the garden is going to bloom at the same time. Seriously. So stop with the timelines. Let go of the timeline. Let the timeline relax. And if somebody else tells you you have to have something done on a certain timeline, tell them to go kick rocks. Seriously. If it's something that is your personal project or your personal life, or like literally like something with your body, and somebody says it has to happen in this time, or we're going to force this on you, tell them to go kick rocks. You got to trust your own process. Maybe once the relationship gets started, it takes off. Maybe once the business partnership gets started, it takes off. Maybe once you find that client, it takes off. Maybe once you've put out enough value out there, suddenly people start noticing you and it takes off. Maybe if you're birthing a baby and you haven't gone into labor by 40 weeks, but you wait it out and you go into labor at 42 weeks, but you had lots of practice contractions up until that point. Baby's out in 5 hours and it's easy and it's ecstatic. Way better than an induction. Seriously. Like inducing, just you don't want to put Pitocin in your projects or in your relationships or your birth. All right. So to recap, you don't want trauma. You want it to be easy. You want to focus on the actual cycle of it. You want to allow it to actually gestate and take its time and recognize the signs that it is going to happen. And then you let it go. You go and write a vision or put it on a vision board if that works better for you, whatever it is that helps you feel like you've already got the thing, that it's a done deal with the universe. Your contract is signed and all you have to do is just keep putting out a little bit each time, a little bit of value, or taking some little actions, but not pushing at it. Being like, okay, I've done the action. I can go do something else now. Go create another project in the meantime, distract yourself and rest. And all your dreams will come true. They have to. They're put in your head. It's inevitable. So, waiting, well, it can be difficult sometimes, especially when it's something that's like, I've been waiting years for this. It's easier when you have those tools. And if Facebook decides to delete something, if you also have a backup plan of recording later, because the first recording didn't go through, but you knew what you were going to say, you just go back in. Maybe you get it done better than the last time. Because I think this one's even better than the first one that I did. You'll never know because I wasn't able to record it. But I know that this one is way better than my original that I had when I was just freestyling without the structure. The same thing with my book. My book is way better. If I had pushed that book out into the world when it wasn't this, like, I think this is way better. And I took my time with it. My courses, same thing, way better. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Cool. That's the other thing. There's another confirmation from the universe. I'm on the right track. See? All right. Go watch the signs, but don't get obsessed with them. Rest, allow, trust that your dreams will come true in time. And I'll see you soon.